I secretly married my boss. Julia, why is your lipstick smudged after delivering those files to the boss? Sneaking in snacks again? If you don't want this job, just quit. My team lead snapped at me. While I was fumbling for words, the boss suddenly appeared at the door, glanced at him casually. I ate it. Got a problem? I've had my eye on Joseph for a long time. Chased him through high school, college, and across half the globe. Wore out my shoes and still didn't catch him, so I just went back home to chill. Then he magically becomes our company's boss. I secretly thought my chance had finally come, but he already had a 4-year-old kid. The new boss is just too handsome. With a boss like that, I'd love to work overtime every day. But it's a shame, he's divorced and has a kid. When Joseph arrived, the office girls went wild. Hearing them talk about him all the time got on my nerves. All those years I spent chasing him, he got married, divorced, had a kid, lived quite the life. Meanwhile, I was foolish enough to like him all those years. This time, I finally gave up. Over the weekend, my family set me up on a blind date. The moment I saw him sitting across from me, I felt like the world had to have a bug in it. And he just looked at me and asked if I wanted to get married. Is he crazy? Why me? I asked, holding my excited heart. Am I better than the influencers who wait for him downstairs every day? You're more down to earth, he replied bluntly. Thanks, I guess. I asked, please, compliment me better, I don't want to be down to the ground. 200 grand, he paused. I'll give you 200 grand a year for a contract marriage, I won't interfere with your freedom. What makes you think 200 grand? I didn't even finish my sentence. Then I see 200 grand hit my bank account. I felt like he was insulting me. In theory, I should give the money back and slap him. Reality is, I'm 27, life taught me never to turn down money. Given a choice between him and his money, I know myself enough to choose the money. Besides, I really needed that money. I ground my teeth and said softly, okay. I married him in a flash. Getting the certificate and all the paperwork done took less than an hour. He handed me a marriage contract. I just needed to pick up his kid from school every day and act like a competent stepmom. But, I had to keep our relationship a secret, especially at work. I got it. He hired a nanny with money, just to take care of his kid. 20 grand a year for a nanny job isn't ideal, but getting to see a handsome guy up close makes it bearable for me. The first day of marriage, he flew out for a business trip. East Suburb and West Hill, I got 2 villas, pick one to stay in. God, is he giving me one? I got a bit nervous. Never seen a villa in my whole life. Are the property fees high? I might not afford them. He turned to look at me, for living, not giving. Oh, right. Just living. West Hill, then. I like watching the sunset through the panoramic windows. I put on a serious face. He glanced at me without a word. Doesn't want to give it? Well, East Suburb is fine too, I whispered. Driver up front chuckled. West Hill is just a location name, sunsets at East Suburb too. So embarrassing. I went silent. West Hill then, closer to the company. He said and handed me a key. When will you be back? I tried making small talk to ease the awkwardness. Then regretted it, we're just contractually married. It's clear we're not to mess with each other's freedom. A week later, he replied without any emotion. Seeing me quiet, he sighed, you don't have to wait for me. Understood. He looked at me again as if to say, what do you even understand? Do your part, don't waste time on me, he added. I stood there stunned, a little spark ignited inside me. Thought that sentence was too much. He really thinks a guy like him is some kind of hot commodity, doesn't he? First time picking up the kid from preschool, I was a bit nervous. Paul, your mom's here. The teacher said to me, checking me out. A little boy with a Transformers backpack stood before me, looked up and said, she's not my mom. Awkward. I reached to hold his hand, he pulled away. Maybe he's not used to it, I forced a smile. I know, Paul looks just like you, how could he not be? The teacher joked. Just like me? I started sweating. You're lying. Paul has a mommy, you said he doesn't. A little girl tugged a chubby boy, pointing at us. Chubby boy glanced at me then quickly looked down blushing. My mom said she's his stepmom. I paused for a second, looking down at Paul. His little face was tight, head hung low, walking forward. In the car, Paul, hot. Need the AC lower? I tried to be nice. I hate you, he said flatly, blocking me off. All right then. As soon as we got out of the car, Paul hit the supermarket, buying toys, snacks, a cart full, more than what others buy in a whole semester. Driver said he's always been like that. I sighed, not my kid, not my business. In the evening, Joseph wasn't home. I called to report about picking up his kid. Why is he upset? After I finished, he suddenly asked. I don't know, maybe it's because his teacher said he looks like me, and he thinks I'm ugly. Anyway, every time I looked in the rearview mirror, I'd notice his son staring, or rather glaring, at me. Not ugly. Joseph was silent for a while on the phone, just ignore him. Not ugly? My heart fluttered a bit. The first pickup was a fail. And the subsequent ones too. But I kept my cool, smiled through whatever Paul said, and just did my job. Why argue with a kid? Over the weekend, coworker Lisa invited me to the mall. I was thinking of getting my mom some loose-fitting t-shirts. It'd be convenient for changing when she's at the hospital. In the mall's underground parking lot, right in front of the elevator, there was a black Bentley parked. The only reason I noticed was because Joseph has one too. And the next second, there he was. The window was half down, and through it, I saw a girl inside. At that moment, I felt something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Lisa saw them too. She nudged my elbow and whispered, "It's the boss." So, we both started watching them blatantly. Anything else you want? Joseph's voice was rough and cool, his eyes dark as ink. I don't want a bag or a necklace, I want you. The girl wrapped her arms around his neck, almost clinging to him. Just as Lisa and I were marveling at how bold and straightforward girls are these days. Sorry, Joseph said as he removed her hands from his neck. Why, don't you like me? The girl sounded frustrated. I don't like disobedience. Joseph pushed her away and tilted his head, signaling her to get out. I can be obedient. She was fully panicking, trying to kiss him. At that moment, Joseph suddenly looked up and spotted me. Caught in the act, I couldn't look away in time, utterly embarrassed. He stared at me for several seconds, his expression hard to read. Delete my contact, he said, turning back to the persistent girl, his face suddenly cold. Don't be stupid. The girl couldn't take it, grabbed her bag, and got out crying. Lisa and I hurried to press the elevator button, and as it closed, I saw him still sitting there, watching me. I couldn't read his emotions, whether he wanted to explain or didn't care to. I believed it was the latter. Julia, just now, was that the TikTok influencer with 1 million followers in the boss's car? I used to really like her. Lisa excitedly showed me on TikTok. She's quite pretty. I glanced at it, had to admit, Joseph had good taste. I used to admire her, but seeing her act all submissive to our boss is such a letdown. I chuckled softly. With money, the world gets weird. So, could our future boss's wife be an influencer? Will she be visiting the office all the time? Maybe. I hesitated to say more. Whenever this happens, I remind myself of the prenup. Lisa led me to the second floor, noting, seems like influencers all marry rich guys now. Hard to believe a handsome, rich, charming man like our boss is into influencers too. Well, it's a win for the influencer too, becoming a stepmom is a gain. I just went along with her. You're still single. I should have my mom find someone good for you. She paused. For regular folks like us, thinking about someone like the boss is a stretch. If you find a stable guy with a good temper, that's hitting the jackpot. Yeah, true. Just as I said that, my phone rang. Joseph? Who's that? Lisa glanced at my contact name and chuckled. My cousin. I motioned that I needed to take the call. When will you be done shopping? His voice was the same as ever, deep and pleasant, making my heart unexpectedly race. 5. There was the flick of a lighter on his end, then a pause. Can you catch a cab home? I have to drop someone off. Though it sounded like a question, it was clearly not. Yeah, go ahead and drop her off. I probably should have just said sure. I don't know why I added that. Once it was out, I sounded like a jealous winner, even surprising myself. He paused again, as if explaining, I have an event tonight. Got it. Saying it's an event, but is he taking that influencer chick, or meeting another one? I felt a sting and a swell inside, but then realized, what right do I have? We're just in a contractual marriage. Emichim. He didn't say more and hung up. Next second, I got a notification, 20,000 deposited. I stared at the number on my phone, thinking for a few seconds. So this is what he means by liking someone obedient? Someone who sees him with other women and turns a blind, smart enough to stick with the money and act like his paper wife? If I'd known being obedient would make him this generous, I could play nice 24/7. A few days later, I took some time off and headed to a rundown part of the city. In an old red brick building, as soon as I walked in, I saw empty beer bottles scattered around. You're drinking again? My chest felt tight, seeing her like this just made me sigh. You've grown wings? Trying to control me? She hurled a bottle at me, making my forehead throb in pain. Ignoring the pain, I bent down to clean up the bottles and got her up from bed. Had enough? Go out if you're done with your tantrum. Every May, my mom starts drinking. I know she's missing my sister again. I won't go, no money. She shrugged me off and splashed water on her face. I called a car for her and managed to get her to the hospital. Seeing the bill, she seemed ready to toss it and leave. I've got it. I showed her my phone balance. You sold out? She gasped, her tone changing when she saw it. Thanks a lot for her big mouth. Everyone in the ward started looking at me funny. I took a deep breath. Couldn't I have earned it? She seemed doubtful. Hospitals are just money traps. Your mom's tough, this won't kill me. I felt awkward, but knew why she was like this. Because money was tight. She wanted to live with dignity too, but life kept dealing her harsh blows. Talk to me about being tough after you're off the operating table. I ignored her, got everything sorted myself. After all the tests, her surgery was set for 8 p.m. When things finally settled, she stopped acting up. You're 27. Marry a good man, I'm tired of fussing over you. Before going into surgery, she suddenly told me. She had never spoken to me that way before, it sounded like a farewell. No way. I was annoyed. You. My mom fumed. If you're that tough, jump off the table and argue with me later, I snapped back, irritated. Sitting on the bench outside the operating room, my feelings were all over the place. Joseph was a match set up by my grandma. She said he was her war buddy's grandson. She didn't know Joseph's family owned a company, and they weren't just well off, they were loaded. The matchmaking was probably just for show. About the quick wedding, I didn't want to tell my mom, knowing well what she'd do with that info. My mom's words flashed through my mind. You have a sister, 2 years older, named Michelle, in the UK. If I don't make it off that table, go find her for me. Her photo and address are saved on my phone. This was the first time I ever saw a photo of my sister. She looked so pretty, dressed in Gucci and carrying a Chanel bag. I couldn't help but say, wow, my dad, whom I've never met, must be really loaded. My grandmother had secretly told me that after my parents divorced, my sister lived with my dad while I lived with my mom. My mom was pretty selfish. She was afraid I'd turn my back on her after raising me for over 20 years and leave her for someone else. So, she always told me I was born from just her, that I didn't have a dad. Why did everyone else have a dad and I didn't? Your dad died. Julia, if you don't want to stay with me, then just leave now. Every time I saw her shaking with anger, I'd give in. If he's dead, he's dead. Why get mad at a dead person? I'd try to comfort her. The heart stent surgery took longer than I thought. Waiting outside felt like forever. After about an hour, the doctor finally let me in. They said the catheter was inserted, and there were 2 arteries blocked by 90%, so I needed to choose the treatment plan. Both plans had their pros and cons, with quite a difference in cost. Are you the only family member here? I didn't really understand, but seeing my mom lying there twisted my heart, so I went for the most expensive option. Without thinking, I just signed wherever the doctor pointed. My palms were sweating a lot. I couldn't even properly write my name as I signed. After signing, I felt like I was floating, unsettled. This was the first major decision I'd ever made. I always thought I was independent enough not to need anyone. But while signing off on my mom's surgery, I realized how terrifying loneliness was. It could easily eat away at my strength, leaving me completely helpless. What if she really died? I didn't dare to think about it. She really had a terrible temper. She smoked, drank, gambled, did all of it. When she got mad, she'd hit me, yell at me, and tell me to get lost. Where would I even go? But even though she wasn't much of a mother, she'd rush me to the clinic at midnight if I had a high fever, demanding the doctor see me until they gave in. Even though she wasn't much of a mother, she'd confront my classmates' parents if I got bullied. Thanks to her, no one dared to mess with me at school, even though I didn't have a dad. Her own life was a mess, yet she still managed to raise me. So, I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay with her and see who outlives whom. After sitting there for a long time, my hand felt wet. Touching my eyes, I realized I was crying. I figured I should go wash my face. As I rounded the corner, I saw 2 people walking by. Broke up again and even blocked her. Talk about cold-hearted. A doctor in a white coat said with a laugh. A man in a suit huffed but stayed silent. Everyone's betting on who the next influencer you'll date will be. What exactly are you looking for, Joseph? Not into it anymore. The man replied calmly. A familiar voice shot through my ears, giving me a chill. Joseph? I froze in place. Why is he here? Eavesdropping isn't cool at all. But they were walking too quickly for me to avoid them. I was stuck. Not into it? The doctor seemed surprised. Is Joseph turning over a new leaf? Joseph didn't respond but smiled and said, the old man set me up with someone. A date? The doctor got even more excited. Are you going on a blind date? Before I could hear the answer, Joseph was standing right in front of me. I stood there, looking up at him, getting caught in his gaze. My limbs didn't know what to do. The doctor noticed our awkward eye contact and paused. Friend of yours? He asked. Boss, I exclaimed before Joseph could answer. Your employee. Joseph simply looked at me, then passed me to the end of the hallway where the surgery room was. What are you doing here? I'm here for someone's surgery. I instinctively didn't want to reveal it was my mom. He glanced at the intervention room door behind me, frowning slightly. You're here alone? That's when I remembered I needed to use the bathroom and return quickly. I gotta go over there, heading out now. I made a quick escape to the restroom. The doctor started chatting with him again as if the little scene with me never happened. There's a reunion tonight. You gotta cover for me. I can't drink much, I've got work tomorrow. I didn't catch what else they talked about. Coming out of the restroom, the hallway was empty, so I went back to wait by the surgery room. Thinking about their conversation left me feeling low. Even his classmates knew he was such a player, so my presence in his life was really just a paper marriage. What else was I expecting? After a bit, they brought my mom out. The surgery went well, and I finally felt relieved. At night, I bought porridge and fed her. She was in pain, so she didn't scold me much. Seeing her asleep, I hired a nurse because I had to go to work and couldn't stay at the hospital. While swiping my card, I thought of Joseph again. Thanks to him, I could confidently use my card. I chuckled bitterly. Just as I was about to take the elevator down, my phone rang. Heading home? It was Joseph. I didn't understand why he was asking. Was he still at the hospital? Yeah, I'm about to leave the hospital. Head to basement level 2. Basement level 2? Without thinking much, I went there. Stepping out of the elevator, I immediately saw his black Bentley. He rolled down the window, motioning me to get in. With no choice, I reluctantly opened the back door. Sit in the front. Just 3 simple words, but commanding. Okay, I slid into the front seat nervously. Usually, we drove to work together, with me in the back seat. I'd get off a block away from the office. This was the first time I sat in the front with him driving. He turned slightly, checked I was buckled in, then started driving toward the villa. Weren't you going to a reunion? I thought he'd be at some bar this late. You fond of eavesdropping? He asked back. I wasn't intentionally eavesdropping, I hurried to explain. He didn't say anything, just glanced at me. Looking at him, his long fingers drummed lightly on the steering wheel, his expression unreadable. Reunions are boring. He said simply, as if explaining. Oh, I didn't know what else to say. How's the person's surgery? He asked. Do you need me to say hi? I know some leaders in their department. No need. I quickly cut him off. I didn't want him to find out that was my mom, and I definitely didn't want my mom to know about the crazy stuff I was doing. He glanced at me but didn't say anything else. At work, I pretty much never talked to him. At home? He's rarely around, or when he gets back, I'm already asleep. I sleep in the guest room, and by the end of the day, we barely say a word to each other. Julia, did you study here before? He suddenly asked. Yeah, I replied honestly. I secretly hoped because he went to this school too. That's quite a coincidence, he said, raising an eyebrow. So, we're schoolmates. Yeah, it is, I mumbled back. Inside, I felt a bit down. He had no idea I got into this school because of him. But by the time I did, he had already left for college. So, did we meet before? When he asked, my heart skipped a beat. Did he remember me? Seeing me not respond, he turned to look at me and smiled, probably not. I was only here for a year, just senior year. I didn't say anything, but now I knew the truth, he didn't remember me. He was here for just a year and saw me once. But I saw him countless times. At the school gate, surrounded by girls asking for his contact info. On the field, with girls always handing him bottled water. I always wanted to say something to him, but I never dared to get close. Thinking about it, I let out a bitter smile. Yeah, probably. He didn't say anything more and kept driving. I was silent for a while, then couldn't help but ask him. I want to ask you something. Why did you choose me back then? Was it really because I seemed down to earth? He seemed stunned, looked at me for a long time, then suddenly laughed. Did you really believe that? What kind of answer was that? With that smile, those old, hidden crush feelings started stirring again, making me uneasy. The next day, I couldn't stand the torture anymore. I wanted to ask him what he meant last night, but he was already gone on another business trip. I ended up going to work with dark circles under my eyes. The team leader dumped a pile of papers on me and told me to have them sorted by the end of the day. I sat in front of the computer typing and organizing, so busy that I didn't even have time for lunch. After work, I still had to pick up Paul. The first was starving, so I grabbed a random bread from the street and scarfed it down. Rushing and hurrying, I was already late when I went to pick up Paul. 10 minutes late. To make it up to him, I bought several toys from a toy store while passing by. Paul was standing at the school gate with a sullen face. When I got him into the car, I gave him the toys, trying to cheer him up. That's when Joseph's call came through. "Did you pick him up?" "I'll be back in 2 days." Then he hesitated and asked, "Do you want a purse?" "A purse?" It took me a second to catch on. I was just about to refuse when a toy was thrown at me, hitting my eye so hard I couldn't open it. Holding my eye, I winced in pain, took a few seconds, and tried to stay calm. "We'll talk about it later. Paul is upset." I hung up right after. "What's your deal?" My eye hurt from the toy he threw, and I was getting a bit angry. "Without you, my mom would come back." The little guy was glaring at me with his big round eyes, face flushed with emotion. I thought for a few seconds. Was he upset that his dad called me? Usually, I let things slide with him, as long as he isn't causing trouble. Being a stepmom ain't easy. But today, I realized this can't continue. I lowered my voice, trying to make him understand. "Paul, this is grown-up stuff, you're still little, okay?" I didn't know where his mom went or if she'd come back. But Joseph was this close to making me his kid's stepmother, so clearly, he wasn't planning on reconciling. "I know everything. Don't lie to kids. You're a bad person. You took my dad away." "How did I take him?" "Even without me, your mom isn't coming back." I told him straight up. He just stared at me, lips trembling in anger. The next second, tears welled up and rolled down. Seeing him cry, I felt a pang of guilt. He's still young, I shouldn't hurt his feelings. I was about to go comfort him when he shoved me away, rummaged in his backpack, and showed me something. "Look, this is my mom. She'll come back for me." He was determined to make me see, proving his point. Seeing that made my heart ache. But when I recognized the person in the photo, my mind went blank. Because staring back at me was my sister, Michael. I opened my mouth, trying to speak, but no sound came out. I could feel cold sweat rolling down my back. "Is this your mom?" I asked, not believing my own eyes. "Yes, my mom is 100 times prettier than you." He proudly showed off the picture. I couldn't muster the energy to argue. I couldn't wrap my head around how he could be my sister's child. And I was even more baffled to realize Joseph's ex-wife was my sister. I wanted answers, but my mind was totally blank. I felt like my soul had been sucked out. When we got home, Paul seemed to cool off a bit. The nanny took him to wash up, and I lay in my room, still in shock. I thought about so much. Like how Grandma said my sister went to live in the States with our dad. Or how, before she entered surgery, my mom was worried about the sister I'd never met. Or how the first time Joseph saw me, he directly asked if I wanted to get married. Even the preschool teachers commented on how Paul looks like me. But it's not that he looks like me, I look like my sister. I even wondered if every time Joseph spoke softly to me, was it for me or for my sister? And I pondered if my mom, half drunk and tearful, saying she missed me, was actually missing her. And what about me? Do I even matter? Am I just an accident, someone's temporary stand-in, or a shadow? The world felt surreal. When Joseph texted me that night, I had a lot on my mind. Is Paul asleep? Was everything all right earlier? He just threw a little tantrum. Our conversations at night were always just like this, about the kid. I felt like a hired robot, updating him on everything. I thought that would be the end of it. "I'll be attending a designer bag showcase tomorrow, send me a picture of what you like." I thought for a second, then laughed. "See, we're just in a business deal. When I'm good, he pays generously. If I do well, he even wants to buy me a purse. I'm just one of his many women, and probably the cheapest one too. No, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep now." That was the first time I replied to his message so coldly. I've chased after him for years, licking his boots, and in the end, I'm left with nothing. I even have to take care of his child with my sister. It's already pathetic enough, why should I keep humbling myself? I'd rather this end. I'm done. After sending the message, I wiped away my tears and cried in the shower. Once I was cried out, I went to sleep. The next day, I went to work as usual and picked up the kid like normal. I was just getting through the days. A few days later, I went to the hospital to get my mom discharged. As we walked out of the hospital, she got a call asking her to play mahjong. What are you looking at me like that for? The doctor didn't say I can't play cards, she said. I kept quiet. First, it's quit smoking, then quit drinking, and now you're saying I can't play cards. Might as well tell me to drop dead. She went on. Seeing her regain her fiery spirit, I thought to myself, well, that's good. I pulled out my phone and transferred 10,000 to her, calmly saying, if you had taken my sister instead, would she be living like this? She was stunned, looking at me in disbelief. After a moment, she shouted, ungrateful. Are you planning to join your rich father? Go, if you think your mother is useless. Just don't come back. Her lashing out made me want to laugh. She always thinks it's about the money. I just pity her. This silly woman. As soon as she thinks I'm leaving, she panics. I didn't say anything else, just silently helped her with her medication and took her back to her neighborhood. I didn't want to pick up the kid or go back to that home. But I couldn't afford to break off the engagement. So, I had to push through and keep going. After a few days, I realized something. I got myself a big wave perm and dyed my hair chestnut brown. I was happy to see that I looked different from my sister in the photos. At the company meeting, Joseph came around again. What's with Joseph lately, always showing up at our group meetings? He doesn't visit other teams this much. My team leader was sweating nervously. Maybe he's interested in the new intern girl in our team. Stop joking, the intern girl said, blushing in embarrassment. Then who else? Who else is single? Someone teased. Julia is still single. A colleague chimed in. I just watched the fun in silence, never expecting it would land on me. Julia? My team leader shook his head. No way, Joseph isn't into that. Thanks for that, I thought. I don't like guys like him either, I muttered, not too kindly. Right after I said it, the room fell silent. Joseph had just walked right by me and sat in the front. Crap, I was caught talking. I felt annoyed but also strangely satisfied. Whatever, he can think what he wants. I'm not playing this game anymore. It was my colleague's turn to report to Joseph. While she was animated in her presentation, his gaze kept straying to me. Why keep staring? I bit my lip, ignoring him. When she finished, the room went silent, expecting his feedback. But he just said, "What's up with your face?" I looked up, realizing they were all looking at me, and remembered I had a band-aid on my face. I nicked myself doing my brows, I said, and the air grew even more awkward. Everyone was shocked, especially the colleague who had been presenting. He calmly looked away, saying, "No comments." The team leader was relieved to hear that. After the meeting, everyone started asking what was up between Joseph and me. No clue, how should I know? I played dumb. I don't understand him either. Maybe he did it to mess with me, putting me on the spot like that. You need to get this document signed by Joseph, my team leader said to me. I don't want to go find him, his constant meeting appearances are stressing me out. I'm not going, I'm leaving for the day, I replied, straight up refusing. Not going? Then do you want to clock out or get fired? All right, I'm going, I growled, grabbing the document and heading to his office. He was busy with his paperwork, business as usual. Except when he signed the paper, he suddenly said, "Nice hair color." I blinked in surprise. You like it? I must have caught him off guard because he took a few seconds to reply, "It's all right. Maybe I'll change it to something else then." He seemed stunned. I left with the document. That evening, I picked up Paul. His teacher had given him a craft assignment. I was kneeling at the coffee table helping him with it while he watched cartoons. Though we've always had a love-hate thing going on, since I've let go, we've settled into our own space. I pick him up every day, and we don't talk much. He shops for toys with his dad's card, and I help carry them home. He watches cartoons while I do his homework. We've found our balance. Midway through, Joseph came back. He changed his clothes and joined us. Seeing him come over, I said, "You help him." "I'm going to shower." He watched me but didn't say anything. After my shower, I saw him leaning against the door, staring straight at me. My heart skipped a beat, and I moved to shut the door. "I'm sleeping, my work is done today," I said, shooing him away. His gaze burned into me, and I suddenly realized I was just wrapped in a towel. He didn't say a word, just took out a cigarette, lighting it up, looking nothing like his serious work self, more like a youthful rebel. "What's up?" he finally asked. "What's up with what?" I played dumb again. "Is Paul getting on your nerves?" "No." "Has your team leader piled on the work?" "Nope." "Then what is it?" "Money problems?" He lit a cigarette, looking like he was losing patience. "Money issues?" "It's not like that's a new thing." I decided I didn't want to like him anymore, and he thought I was just making a fuss. Even if I was, it seemed he thought it unrelated to him. Despite everything, it made me a little sad. He sighed, softening his tone, "I've been busy lately. If you need something, just tell me." "I don't want anything," I said, forcing a smile. "We're divorcing in a year anyway." "So troublesome," he finally said, "do what you want." With that, he turned and went back to his room. I closed the door and lay down. My heart still ached. See? He doesn't care. These little dramas of mine mean nothing to him. Life moves on. Love isn't the only thing you need to live. In the afternoon, I went to pick up Paul. As soon as I got to the preschool, the teacher told me Paul had hit someone. I was shocked. "You see," said the parent of the boy Paul hit, "my son's head has 2 bumps because of your son. What are you going to do about it?" With bright red nails and teetering on high heels, she was aggressive. Paul was silent, fists clenched and face set. The kid he hit was a chubby boy, William, the same one who called me stepmom before. "What happened?" I asked Paul, kneeling down to his level. He stayed quiet. "Mom, it hurts so much," the chubby boy cried loudly. "Serves you right," Paul shouted, staring him down defiantly. "I have a bit of a headache." "How rude." "Cursing at people, weren't you taught any manners by your parents?" William's mom raised her hand, about to hit him. I reflexively looked over at Paul. He was clearly upset by those words, his little face flushed and tears welling up, but he wouldn't cry. "What's with the way you're talking?" I stepped in front of Paul protectively. "What do you want?" "Your kid hit someone, and you've still got the nerve to argue?" William's mom seemed ready to fight me. "Let's talk it over calmly, not in front of the kids." A teacher intervened to mediate. I swallowed my anger and said, "Fine, let me ask the kid first, and teacher, could you check the security footage?" I pulled Paul over to the side. I crouched down, looking at him. He stood straight but said nothing. I sighed, holding his hand. "It's okay, don't be scared. If you didn't hit anyone, his mom can't touch you. But even if you did hit him, I'll take care of it. Tell me when you're ready." I wasn't getting an answer from him, so I gave up for now. Even if he did hit someone, I'd apologize or whatever, I'd deal with it. I was just about to stand up when he quietly said, "I don't have a mom anymore." I froze, staring at him. "I don't have a mom anymore," he repeated. And then, just like that, tears started rolling down his cheeks. That hit me hard. I didn't know how to react for a moment. After a second, I swallowed my emotions and took his hand. "Why do you think that?" Your mom's just busy right now. She's gone, he said, trying to hold back tears but failing. Gone? His words hit me deeply, suddenly bringing back my own childhood memories. When I was little, every time I asked my mom where my dad was, she'd say he was gone. And she had a bad temper. If I asked too many times, she'd hit me. I stopped asking after that, just cried alone under the covers. Thinking about that made me tear up. I hugged his small figure tightly. Who told you that? I asked, my voice a bit shaky. William, he said, and started crying hard on my shoulder. I held him, feeling his small body tremble from the sobs. No matter how stubborn he was still just a kid. He lied to you, I comforted him. Then another thought came to me, and I asked, is that why you hit him? Because he says stuff like that? By then, he was crying too hard to answer. I suddenly felt a wave of anger. I picked him up and went straight to the little chubby kid. Did you say his mom's gone? I glared at him. Scared, the chubby kid rushed into his mom's arms, crying loudly. Why are you yelling at my son? His mom came over and shoved me. Holding the kid, I stumbled, nearly falling. I caught myself. You're raising your kid right, teaching him it's okay to say stuff like that about other people's moms. And if his mom's gone, who am I supposed to be? Just because I'm not around doesn't mean I'm not involved. You want an apology? Forget it. You're lucky I'm not charging you for emotional distress. William's mom glanced between her kid and me, looking embarrassed. What are you saying? She lunged at me. I put Paul in the teacher's arms just before her hand connected with my face and grabbed her wrist in return. She got more furious and tried to pull my hair with her other hand. I rolled up my sleeves and fought back. The battle was so intense, the teachers couldn't separate us. So, half an hour later, we were in the principal's office. Joseph sat across from me, his eyes dark and unreadable. The teacher was explaining everything, but he kept his eyes on me. Why are you looking at me like that? I tilted my head defiantly. Apologizing? Not in this lifetime. Once the teacher finished, Joseph calmly spoke up. Get the security footage, witness statements, whatever's needed. If we owe compensation, we'll pay double. But if anyone at school bullies Paul or my family, we'll take it all the way to court. No compromises. We watched the footage and it showed Paul hadn't hit anyone. It was William who tried to push him, and he ended up falling himself. Her nails were painted bright red when she saw this, her face turned white. Kids will be kids, it's not a big deal, no need for court, right, teacher? The teacher mediated, and William and his mom ended up apologizing. Back home, I was still sulking in my room when I heard a knock on the door. I opened it to see Joseph there, blushing with embarrassment. I quickly closed the door. How embarrassing. My hair was a mess, my shirt askew, and my neck and face were scratched from earlier. Open up, he said in a deep voice. Not a good time, I'm going to bed. I didn't want him to see me like this, even though he'd already seen the worst in me that afternoon. I was sure he was disappointed in me. So tough when there's a fight, but hiding now? He sighed and lowered his voice. Open the door, let me see. With no choice, I opened the door and quickly turned away, heading for my bed in defeat. He came in, pulled out a chair, placed a first aid kit on the floor, and just stared at me. Lift your head, he said softly. I didn't move. Then, his slender fingers lifted my chin, and I met his gaze. My heart skipped a beat. Going into a fight you could lose? He looked at me closely. Who says I lost? She didn't have it easy either, I shot back, not ready to back down. Her painted nails were her only strength. He looked at me, his serious face breaking into a small smile. He must be laughing at me, I was fuming inside, wringing my hand. But then he opened the kit and gently started cleaning and dressing my wounds. His touch was so gentle, and his breath so close, I felt awkward and leaned back to create some distance. Does it hurt? He paused his movements. No. Then why are you moving away? He pulled me closer in a single move. I held my breath, not daring to move. It was like he'd cast a spell on me. Whatever he said, I just listened. Where else did you get hurt? He asked, having finished treating my hand and face. Here. I pulled my shirt aside from my shoulder, pointing. He froze. Noticing his gaze shift, I quickly pulled my clothes back up, my face turning crimson. I was wearing a tank top underneath my shirt, so it wasn't showing too much, but still. Let me do it myself, I said, cheeks still flushed. Turn around. No excuses, we're married. You'll have to get used to it. I felt the cool touch on my back, and any embarrassment melted away. It's not that I'm shy, I'm not shy. I'm nothing. He applied the ointment gently, then suddenly stopped, and I wondered what was on his mind. I was about to ask him why when I suddenly remembered my back tattoo. Oh no. What's tattooed there? Just, some flowers and stuff. My heart raced. Locust flowers? I felt utterly exposed. Why are you doing this? I guess I liked it when I was younger. I liked him when I was younger. It's pretty nice. After a short while, a cold sensation slid around the outline of the petals, giving me goosebumps all over. He pulled his hand back, didn't say a word, just quietly finished applying the medication and helped me with my clothes. I wasn't sure what he was thinking. Suddenly, he pinched my fingers. They're pretty slender. He stared at my ring finger and measured it with his own. I got scared and pulled my hand back quickly. Hey, I'm tired, I need to sleep. I was inexplicably afraid he'd do something again out of the blue. With all the fighting and tattoos, he looked at me and suddenly laughed. I underestimated you. What? Did he discover I'm not the goody two-shoes he thought, and now he regrets it? I'll come by again tomorrow night. Come by tomorrow night? I didn't get what he meant by that. He didn't elaborate, just picked up his medical kit and left. The next day at work, I was lost in thought, couldn't focus. I kept thinking about what he said and did last night, and I was getting shaky. Crushes are like that. You swear you're going to say goodbye, that you'll never like him again. But then, he shows the slightest bit of kindness, says something that could be misinterpreted, and I start overthinking again. I thought about the locust tree flower tattoo on my back, and then about that boy. Back when I was in elementary school, I went to a mahjong place to find my mom after school one day. I waited late, but my mom refused to leave, so I took the keys and went home alone. One of her poker pals ended up following me to an alley. The guy tried to get handsy with me, and I was scared to death, bit him, and ran. When I got to the alley entrance, there was a group of students. I shouted. Only one person stopped. I ran over to him and dove into his arms. He didn't push me away. I met a bad guy, I cried and begged him to help me. He shielded me behind him and gently said, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." That guy saw someone there and slipped away down the alley. He walked me back to the slum area. "Are you alone at home? Where are your parents?" He glanced into the empty house and frowned. "My mom hasn't come back yet from mahjong." I still hadn't calmed down, my whole body was trembling. He didn't say anything, just patted my shoulder. "Don't be afraid, I'll wait outside until your mom comes back." He pointed to the locust tree at the door. So he stood there with his phone, waiting under the tree for hours. Whenever I woke from a nightmare and peeked outside, he was there. Moonlight shone on his face, and his shadow under the tree stretched so long. That elongated shadow was like a beam of light in my dark life. That night, my mom finally came back near dawn. When I woke up, he was gone from the locust tree. I found his school badge in the house and learned his name was Joseph. That was when this stubborn dream began. I wanted to get into the same school as him. I stayed in the slum area, avoiding the mischievous kids and studying hard. But when I finally saw his excellent graduate record, he'd already made it into University A. I studied even harder non-stop and got into University A too. But then, he went for his master's and even studied in the UK. He probably won't ever know me this lifetime. I kept that school badge hidden in my diary. But then, he was with my sister and had a kid with her. He'll never know about my hidden love in the dark corners. Thinking about it gives me this bitterness that makes it hard to breathe. I thought about Paul saying his mom died yesterday, and I got a bit panicky. If that's true, my poor mom, how sad she'd be. After thinking for a long time, waiting until after work, I decided to find him and get some clarity. When I got home, it was almost like I hit the jackpot because he was actually there. I knocked on his study. He opened the door. "What's up?" He stood in the doorway, looking puzzled at me. "Did you marry me because I look like someone?" I mustered the courage to get straight to the point. He was stunned for a second, looking confused. "What's going on?" "Hang tight, I'll come to your room." Did he not want to answer because he was guilty? But that question was weighing on my heart. I didn't want to wait anymore. "If you just see me as someone to run errands for you or as a backup, sorry, I can't be that robot you want. Find someone else." I was determined to get an answer. "Explain, what tool, what double?" A voice, aged and husky, came from behind him. A white-haired old man with a cane emerged, startling me. Joseph pressed his hand against his forehead with a sigh and said gently, "My grandfather." "Grandfather?" I was speechless. "Call him Grandpa." He gave me a pointed look. "Grandpa," I said as if I had any other choice. "You didn't even mention getting married. Keeping it from the family, what are you all up to?" Grandpa glared at Joseph. "Been busy," Joseph responded dismissively. "You earned some lousy money, and now you're hiding your wife from this old man?" Grandpa nearly hit him with his cane, but spared him since I was there. "How could we hide it from you? Here you are." Joseph supported his grandfather. "Don't get mad now, you're getting old." I stood there motionless, not daring to move. "What's your name?" Grandpa lowered his voice, smiling at me. Joseph was left speechless by how fast Grandpa switched gears. "Julia," I softly replied. "Julia? You're my battle buddy's granddaughter?" This punk said he wasn't settled down. Grandpa scolded Joseph and then said to me, "Tell Grandpa how this punk's been bullying you." I glanced at Joseph, who helplessly shrugged. "Why are you looking at him?" "Don't be scared. Grandpa's got your back." "Stop asking her, you might scare her," Joseph said, dragging his grandpa into his study. "Ask me if you have questions." "Let me take a good look first." Grandpa was pulled into the study, the door closing behind him. Just as I was hesitating whether to leave, the door opened again. "Wait for me in the guest room, give me 10 minutes. "You punk, are you quarreling with her? Why tell her to sleep in the guest room?" Grandpa must have overheard again, and I left in a hurry. 10 minutes later, he knocked on my door. His tall figure leaned against the door frame, looking at me with a mix of annoyance and amusement. "What's this about a double, someone you like? Some new type of prank? Isn't it true?" I retorted quietly. "An agreement marriage, I see you once a month at most, we speak a few words. Every time we talk, it's about you and that other woman's kid. I'm just supposed to take care of your child while you're out gallivanting with someone else. Isn't that it?" He paused, silent for a moment, then chuckled. "If you want a real marriage, it's not impossible." What he said caught me off guard, making my heart skip a beat. "You're imagining things." He replied nonchalantly, "The guest room was your decision, I never locked the master bedroom." I'm about to get so mad. What does he mean by that? Does he think I'm acting out because I want to sleep with him? I was so mad that I wanted to argue, but words didn't come out easily enough, so he caught me off guard. "I don't have anyone I like." "Never did, now?" He paused, his gaze resting on me. "Does it count?" "I can't answer that right now." He was lying without shame. "What about Paul's mom, didn't you have feelings for her?" I asked directly. "What's she got to do with this?" He responded. Of course, it's about her, she's my sister. You had a kid with her, and then married me. What do you take me for? Just thinking about it makes me want to cry. He went silent, looking pretty upset. Michelle is your sister? Yes. And with that, he stopped talking. I'll take you somewhere this weekend, he said, and then he just walked away. No explanation. He left, but my heart was still in turmoil. Lying in bed, I thought to myself, I really should have said to him there and then, I don't fancy guys my sister's been with. Yeah, that would have been good. Why didn't I think of it then? It frustrated me even more. There were still several days until the weekend, and without an explanation, each day was a grind. Was he hesitating on how to break this to me? He must be. Just thinking about facing the truth with him, about leaving this home, made me feel gloomy. The next day, Paul asked me, Julia, did you argue with my dad? His little face was turned up to me. I looked at him, feeling down. Are you happy? Kids are little smartass. Kinda, he said with a cheeky grin. I should have been mad, but seeing how openly happy he was, I couldn't help but smile too. As long as you're happy. So, are you leaving? He asked. Probably. If you leave, will Dad find someone else to make crafts with me? That was his main concern. Yes. But what if they're not as good as you? Me? Kids can't be so greedy. You want me to leave but still make crafts for you? I wanted to pinch his little cheeks, but stopped in case he cried. Can't I? Nope. Life is unpredictable. My relationship with Paul actually grew closer because of my leaving. In the past, he wouldn't talk much to me, but now he had plenty to say. Later, he often asked, Julia, you haven't made up with my dad, right? Julia, you're actually quite pretty. You don't need my dad. Julia, if you ever miss me, you can also visit me at kindergarten. Julia. Yup, he just keeps calling me by my first name, driving me crazy. Julia, my dad's back. You better get to your room. He quickly got up, pushing me with his little chubby hands. Me? Aren't you in a cold war with my dad? He asked seriously. Does a cold war mean I have to hide? Whoever speaks first loses. I found his serious little face amusing. Where did he learn that? But I really didn't want to see Joseph, so I just went back to my room. In the room, I could hear voices outside. Dad, it's no use going up. Julia won't talk to you. Oh. Did she say something to you? Dad, I heard her on a voice call with another guy. Then silence. I froze for a second. After thinking for a while, I realized it was probably my team leader who called me and Paul overheard, then spun the story. I thought about explaining, but decided against it. In the middle of the night, I was half asleep when someone tugged at my hand. It was Paul. What's the matter? I quickly got up and held him. Julia, maybe you shouldn't leave, he hesitated. In the middle of the night, just in pajamas, come up here, I said, pulling him onto the bed. He snuggled into my arms. Julia, I think my mom isn't coming back. He clung to me and cried again. If you go, no one will back me up in fights anymore. So soft-hearted, I ended up gently stroking his head. All right, I won't go. Go to sleep. The next day on my way to work. Logically, Joseph should have already left by then. But nope, a black Bentley parked right in front of me. Get in, he said, rolling down the window. I stood there, pretending not to hear. He glanced at his watch and lowered his voice. There's 30 minutes to go, and it's hard to catch a cab here. Don't want your team lead to chew you out for being late, right? He won't. I smiled at him. A second later, I hopped into my team lead's car. Julia, next time you're out this late, you're fired, my team lead scolded, glaring at me. Yes, I was almost late, so I had sent a distress signal in the team group chat and my team lead drove a mile to pick me up. Team lead, chill, with you around I'd never be late. I buttered him up, which noticeably improved his mood. At the office, we had our meeting. Joseph came again. What's going on lately? Why so much attention on our team? Looking to promote me, perhaps? My team lead was wearing his worried face. Could it be he's targeting you? A colleague asked. Get lost. My team lead fired up instantly. Gosh, when he sits there, I forget my words. Same for me, feels like a trial rather than a simple meeting. Aren't you all about eye candy? Now that you have one to watch, it's unbearable. He's good looking, but you gotta survive to enjoy it, my colleagues lamented. Truth be told, I'm annoyed too. He's definitely targeting me. During the meeting, every time I looked up, I'd catch him looking at me. This time, I couldn't be bothered to look away, so I stared back. And so, while our colleagues were passionately presenting, my eyes and his were locked in a silent battle. In the end, he gave in, bowing his head and suddenly smiling. What's so funny? Clearly, I won, yet his smile threw me off. The next second, I got a notification. My bank account was credited with $5,200. A message accompanied it, take a cab yourself, don't get into another guy's car again. The room went dead still. I had my phone set to announce payment notifications. Now everyone in the meeting room knew $5,200 just landed in my account. Instantly, all eyes turned on me. Some colleagues even looked at me sympathetically. My team lead stood up, trembling with rage. Julia. He tried to slam the table, but with Joseph there, he just lightly tapped it. He lowered his voice. How many times do I have to remind you, mute your phone during meetings? Sorry. I immediately backed down. My bad. I stood there, clueless about what to do next. Sorry, minor hiccup. I'll reprimand her later, my team lead chuckled apologetically. Everyone followed my team lead's gaze to Joseph. Compared to my tense, awkward self. The culprit? Calm as ever. His long fingers scrolling on the phone screen before putting his phone down. All right, let's continue, my team lead urged. A colleague reluctantly resumed speaking. I was fuming, unable to let this slide. I grabbed my phone and messaged him, think this is fun? How many cab rides can that money pay for? Does he think he can lord it over because he's rich? I decide whose car I ride in. He doesn't get to dictate that. He was watching the presentation but suddenly glanced down at his phone. Yet his expression remained unchanged. See? Every time I'm furious, he's as unbothered as can be. A moment later, my bank account buzzed again, now with $13,140. Is that enough? The buzzing sound seemed to slice through the meeting room air. My mind went blank. Oh no, I was so surprised just now that I forgot to put my phone on silent. Julia. You. My team leader just blew up. It wasn't just him, I also wanted to kick myself. Why didn't I put it on silent? Dating is great and all, but can you keep the flirting out of meetings? My team leader was fuming. Sorry. I apologized, hanging my head. Get out. He directly told me to leave. Fine. I picked up my computer with a headache and started to walk out. But as soon as I took a step, someone stood up. Joseph. He got up too and headed outside. Joseph, I didn't ask you to leave. My team leader looked shocked. Joseph didn't say much. He just glanced at me and said, you keep going, I've got something to do, and walked out without looking back. I went back to my desk, feeling a bit annoyed. I didn't know what his game was. I needed an explanation, but he didn't say a word. Ask your team leader for some time off, he said, popping up next to me. For what? I looked up at him. It had been days since we'd talked, and it felt like he was avoiding me to dodge explaining himself. He looked at his watch and grinned, it's a 6-hour drive. If we leave now, we can make it for dinner. Where to? He just stared at me. You'll find out when we get there. Taking time off is a hassle my team leader might not approve. I gave an excuse, part pouting, really. Want me to ask for you? He shot back. No need. I forced a grin. So when my team leader came out of the meeting, ready to scold me, I asked for time off instead. Julia, I think you're so love-struck you're losing your mind, asking for time off for this? He was so mad he was stuttering. Love is important, but work comes first. I nodded. Can I have the time off then? He was so exasperated he rolled his eyes and signed my leave slip, tossing it back to me. I don't want to see you around here today. Got it, see you the day after tomorrow, I said with a big smile and slipped away. Joseph was driving. It was a 6-hour trip, and Paul and I fell asleep in the back seat. It was dark when the car pulled up to a house in the suburbs. As soon as we got out, Paul ran in, shouting, "Grandpa! Grandma!" I was stunned. Was this Joseph's old home? Were these his parents? While I was admiring the simplicity of his parents' house, he took my hand. Let's go. It was the first time he held my hand. His hand was huge, and mine felt tiny in his grasp. Feeling his warmth made my heart race. He led me into the yard. Inside, 2 elderly folks were joyfully embracing Paul. Wife, Joseph is here. The man caught sight of me, seemed taken aback, then looked back at Joseph. And this is? Grandpa, this is Julia, my new mom, Paul introduced me eagerly. The man was startled but then grinned broadly. Uncle, this is Julia, my wife, Joseph introduced me seriously. Uncle? The term confused me. A woman got up and groped her way towards me. You're married now, aren't you? Quick, let Julia sit. Yes, she groped. Her eyes seemed blind. Got it. Joseph led me into the living room. The old couple brought out some fruit and all sorts of sweets for Paul. The man asked Joseph about work while I quietly listened. I wasn't sure what their relationship was, but Joseph clearly respected them. At some point, the woman brought over an embroidery piece, slowly. Julia, it's my first time meeting you. I don't have much to give, but take this as a wedding gift. She approached, held my hand, and carefully placed the embroidery in it. I unfolded it. It was 2 meters long, and clearly old with yellowed edges. Not sure if I should accept it, I looked to Joseph for guidance. Take it, he said, looking down. When he looked up again, his eyes were a bit red. Later, Joseph went outside to help the man with some gardening, discussing something. The woman reached for me but hesitated. I took her hand. Julia, though I can't see, I can tell you're a good girl, she smiled. Now that Joseph has opened up and married you, I'm at peace. I didn't understand everything, and eventually asked her. What struggle did he have? He didn't tell you? She murmured. Well, he keeps everything inside but is deeply loyal. And did he not talk about Paul? No, I answered truthfully. She sighed, reaching to pull me closer. I helped steady her. She smiled, leading me to a bedroom where a photo sat. It had Joseph and another boy. This is Joseph, and that's my son, David, she pointed out. David? That name rang a bell. They grew up together, best brothers. Even went to school in Britain together. Hearing this, I was moved. Another person like me? From the same school? Was your son close to him? How come they haven't stayed in touch? Normally, Joseph seemed alone. Besides that one doctor I'd met, he didn't seem close to anyone. He passed away 4 years ago, she said quietly. Yet I saw tears in her blind eyes. I was shocked. Reacting on impulse, I apologized. Sorry, I didn't mean to. It's okay, it's in the past. She wiped her tears, smiling to comfort me. It only made me feel worse. In Britain, Joseph was with him when they had a car accident, falling off a cliff. Joseph jumped out, but he didn't make it. She started sobbing again. "I'm sorry," I said, unsure how to console her, patting her shoulder. "It's really all right. Don't worry about it, dear," she assured. "You frightened this old woman." She composed herself and continued. "Joseph felt so guilty. He thought he caused my son's death. He came back from Britain and insisted on working here. My son's girlfriend was pregnant at the time, but she didn't want the baby. Joseph convinced her to have it, promising to raise it. To spare the child gossip about having no parents, he gave Paul his name. Said it was his own child. Whenever he could, he drove Paul back to visit us, treating us like his own parents. It was rough on him, being 32, unmarried, with a child. It scared off so many good women." She let out a sigh as she spoke. "He always says he doesn't want to look, has no thoughts about marriage this lifetime. We're all worried about him, afraid he won't come around. Thankfully, he met you." She held my hand again. "You're a good girl, don't miss out on him. Over the years, my eyes have failed me but my heart hasn't. He's a good kid." Hearing all this left me in a state of shock. It took me a while to process everything. The child isn't his, it's his brother's. And his brother's girlfriend is my sister. I suddenly understood why Joseph hadn't talked to me for days. He wasn't avoiding me, he was running from his past, unable to put it behind him, and that's why he couldn't give me an explanation. Thinking about my own foolish actions made me feel incredibly ashamed. He's not like that, I've been too narrow-minded. I earnestly promised his mom. The next day, the elderly couple saw us off to the corner, and Paul waved goodbye. They smiled and told us to be careful on the road. But as soon as we turned, I saw in the rearview mirror that the two elders turned away to wipe their tears. It hit me like a punch to the gut. "Did Auntie tell you everything?" That night, when we got home, Joseph came into my room. He walked over, fiddling with the trinkets in my room. "Do you know who that embroidery was for?" "Huh? Who?" I asked, puzzled. "Auntie spent 3 years making it for David's wedding," he said calmly. "Unfortunately, later on, Auntie's eyesight deteriorated, and she never got to see David get married." He paused. "After David was gone, she cried so much her eyesight was ruined." I felt a pang in my heart. I don't know what to say." "And yet you dare keep it," he remarked with a not-so-happy look. "Weren't you the one who told me to? You'll do whatever I tell you? Since when are you so obedient?" He gave me a sideways glance. "Then I'll return it," I said as I made a move to pack it up. But he grabbed my hand and asked, "Where's the logic in keeping something and then returning it? What do we do then? I'm losing my mind." "What else?" "We'll use it when we plan the wedding." "A wedding?" I was shocked. "Don't you want to? Even Grandpa came to see me." "I can't avoid it, things are already being set up. You'll have to work a bit harder." "But this isn't about hard work," I said, a bit panicked. "Then what is it about?" "What is it about? How am I supposed to know?" With so much happening all at once, I felt lost. "You've got a month to get ready," he said, patting my shoulder. Then he walked out. Clarity hit me. I knew what it was about. The real question is, does he like me? If he doesn't, getting the marriage license would already be a mistake, and having a wedding would just make it worse. "Joseph," I called out just as he was about to close the door. He stopped and turned to look at me. I hesitated, unsure of how to ask the question. Asking someone if they like you is incredibly hard to say out loud. Seeing I wasn't speaking, he turned his whole body towards me, leaning casually against the door frame. "What? Want to sleep in the master bedroom tonight?" I instantly blushed, the question I had in mind slipping away. "I'll take a cab in the morning," I threw at him before turning away, not looking at him. "Suit yourself," he replied, somewhat deflated, as he closed the door. After that day, things between Joseph and me became unclear, almost like a dance of secrecy and anticipation. If he wasn't working late, he would join me in picking up Paul from school. He'd stay in at night, watching while I did crafts with Paul. Every night before bed, he'd come to chat for a bit. Mostly, he'd just listen, occasionally flipping through a book. Before leaving, he'd always remind me, "If you need anything, call me. I'll keep my phone on," and the door unlocked. The hint was clear, even without kisses, hugs, or any physical touch. His gestures set my heart racing. Joseph suggested we visit my mom over the weekend. I thought about it for a long time and finally agreed. To prepare, I took some time off work to tidy up my mom's place, warning her several times not to say anything careless. My mom was pretty understanding this time. Knowing I was bringing my boyfriend over made her really happy. "Don't worry, I'll be on my best behavior," she assured me, thumping her chest. She runs a mahjong parlor in a rundown area but doesn't play herself. She just watches and occasionally serves tea, and it suits her. Leaving her place, I felt so relieved, my steps as light as air. Returning home that night, I noticed a pair of high heels at the entrance. My heart skipped a beat. Then, I heard arguing from the living room. "If you want the kids so bad, marry me. You know I've always been waiting for you." Hearing a woman's voice, I felt frozen to the spot. She finally showed up. "That's impossible," Joseph said calmly. "Why is it impossible? You'd rather marry just anyone than me?" She responded, sounding desperate. "Do you think I would get together with my brother's girlfriend?" Joseph replied. "But you know since the beginning, I've only liked you. I was with David just to make you jealous. Why can't you see me?" Her voice was full of tears. My heart clenched. I knew who it was my sister. But I never imagined she had feelings for Joseph, let alone having David's child and now threatening Joseph to marry her. I knew Joseph cared a lot about Paul and hated the thought of losing him. I was scared to hear his answer. And then he said, "I don't like you. Never did and never will. And you can't take the child." She laughed through her tears. "You really think a child can live without his mom? Have you thought about what would happen to him without a mother? He'd become sensitive, insecure, maybe go down a destructive path. Could you take responsibility for that?" There was silence from Joseph's side, and my heart ached at the thought of it. I remembered Paul crying to me, saying, "Julia, I don't have a mom anymore. She's gone." His eyes so wounded. Children are innocent. If Paul knew his longed-for mom had returned only to see him as a pawn, how heartbroken he'd be. I changed my shoes and went over. Joseph saw me first. I saw it in his eyes, the helplessness, the unresolved pain, and I felt for him. "Who are you?" Michelle asked, confused. She looked at Joseph, and her confusion turned to jealousy. "Sister," I said calmly. This was the first time I saw her in 27 years. Everything I knew about her came from my grandma. I always imagined if I met her, she'd hug me, call me sis, cry, and say she's missed me all these years, or maybe she'd just treat me like a stranger. I never thought our first meeting would be like this. Life has a funny way of surprising you. I calmly told her she had a mom living in the projects who missed her, and now I'm married to Joseph. She didn't care how mom was doing or living. All she cared about was, "You, living in the projects, have no self-awareness? How can you marry Joseph? I liked him first. What gives you the right to take him from me?" I was stunned. "Who said you liked him before me? You should visit mom, she misses you." I sighed, not wanting to argue anymore. "My mom's in England. A slum dweller wants me as a daughter? Ridiculous. Just say you need money." Her snobbish attitude hurt. "I'd rather beg than take a cent from you." I turned away, keeping my tears at bay. I thought about my mom. That silly woman gets tormented every May on my sister's birthday, longing for a daughter who doesn't acknowledge her. It's ironic. "Get out," Joseph said calmly but firmly. "Joseph, you?" I don't want to say it again. Michelle stomped out, crying. Later, Paul was picked up. Even knowing this, I was unsettled. I felt bad for Paul. How could a mom be bad to her own kid? Maybe I'm just worrying too much. Couldn't sleep at night, so I went downstairs to the kitchen. Someone was on the couch, scared me to death. Joseph? He hadn't changed clothes or turned on any lights, just sat there quietly. He seemed so alone. Why aren't you asleep? He spoke first when he saw me. Can't sleep. I sat next to him. What about you? He was silent, clearly down. Worried about Paul? I asked gently. His eyes dropped, his voice soft. He didn't bring his teddy bear he sleeps with every night. I was speechless. I always felt Joseph was too strict with Paul, hardly smiling, making Paul a bit scared of him. He wasn't a gentle father at all. But he knew Paul needed that teddy to sleep every night. Not knowing how to comfort a father in pain, I just stayed by his side. Should we take the teddy to him? I asked cautiously. He looked at me, then stood up. You go rest. I'm heading out. I'll go with you. He paused for a second, then said, okay. I thought Michelle lived far, but it was actually just an hour's drive. Joseph clearly knew the way. You been here often? I asked. He didn't hide it. After a moment, he said, when Paul gets sick, he cries for his mom, so I bring him here hoping Michelle will see him. And then? She refuses to see him, he said lightly about these past events. I was silent. I remembered when my mom scolded me, she'd always say, Julia, I raised you through thick and thin, do you know how hard it was? You know how you cried at night, your mom didn't sleep for a month, only survived on air. If you dare abandon your mom when you grow up, I'll break your legs. But Joseph? He was a man, unmarried, raising a child alone for 4 years. Each time Paul asked for his mom, the solitude and helplessness he must have felt. This moment, I sincerely felt for this man. Michelle's house was a large villa. I hesitated at the door, but curiosity got the better of me. It was late at night, so all the lights were off. Joseph knocked, and the butler fetched the owner. A middle-aged man in silk pajamas came out, hair graying but looking good. The moment our eyes met, my heart skipped a beat. I suddenly felt nervous like never before. Is this the dad from the rumors? Joseph, come sit. What brings you here? He was warm to Joseph, but his look changed to hostility when he saw me. I brought something for Paul. Is he asleep? Joseph got straight to the point. He fussed for a while, now he's asleep. The man clasped his hands behind his back, hesitating before glancing at me. Michelle's feelings for you, you've known for years. I heard you found someone to marry. He sneered at me, you really don't have standards. I stood there, suddenly drained. Because I lived in the projects, was a single mom, many looked down on me. I've heard it so many times. I thought I was immune. But he is my father. His disdain cut like a knife, trampling on my dignity. James, this is my wife. I don't see a need to continue our company's collaboration. Joseph placed the teddy down, took my hand to leave. Dad's face turned pale. I lifted my head to meet his gaze. I'm Julia. He wasn't interested in knowing who I was. My mom is Becky. I forced a smile and turned to follow Joseph. While turning, I saw the shock in his eyes, and I chuckled to myself. But that laugh turned to tears. In that moment, I knew I was done hoping. Mom was right, my dad's dead to me. Walking out the door, Joseph looked at my tear-streaked face, visibly uncomfortable. He must have wondered why I was crying. Don't cry. He held my hand, looked down at me, his voice flustered. Blame me, I shouldn't have brought you here. He thought I was upset by James's words. Joseph didn't know the only reason he could hurt me was because of his identity. It's not your fault. I turned to hide, maintaining the last shred of dignity before him. "He's my dad." I smiled, trying not to sound too affected. "You won't believe it, it's the first time I've seen him." I wiped my tears. I thought I could hold it in, but Joseph's caring look broke my resolve. He said nothing, just held me close, quietly. "Julia, don't cry." He gently stroked my hair. "Julia, don't cry," he repeated, again and again. And I cried more, unable to stop. I imagined this moment countless times. When Mom hysterically beat and scolded me. When classmates teased me for not having a father. When I worried about Mom's health and couldn't afford her treatment. I always dreamed my dad would walk up, hug me, and say, "Julia, don't cry." Then take me, facing all challenges together. In Mom's presence, I never dared to express my longing for Dad but always saw him as my distant savior at night. Yet life is harsher than imagined. On the way back, I stayed silent. Joseph didn't push. Maybe he wanted to leave me some dignity. In the days afterward, Joseph was very kind. Waiting for me going to and from work. But I kept avoiding him with various excuses. Eventually, I moved back to the projects where Mom was. Finally decided to keep Mom company. My mom is pretty happy with me. When I'm not at work, I'm at her mahjong spot helping out. But after a few days, she noticed something was up. "Did you and your boyfriend have a fight? You said Joseph was visiting this weekend, right?" she asked. "Not getting married," I mumbled, too down to talk much. "Not getting married? What are you doing?" My mom got so mad she was ready to smack me. One minute she's calling me a good daughter, the next, she's tossing my stuff out the door. "Mom." I found myself locked outside. "Get lost if you're gonna be here making trouble," she snapped. What am I supposed to do? I felt tears welling up. "Go to your boyfriend's, figure out your fight. What are you hiding here for? This ain't no dumpster." I said I'm not getting married. I don't deserve it. I don't want him pitying me. I sat by the door, bawling. My mom yanked open the door, yelling, "Who dares pity you? I raised you right. You've got a job. Who's got the nerve to look down on you? I'll take them out." I blinked, stunned. "Then go take it out on Dad," I said quietly. Her face froze for a second. After a long pause, she asked, "You spoke to him?" "Yes," I admitted, looking up. "But he thinks I'm trash." She stood there, shocked. "That bastard." She cursed, storming off in her slippers. I stumbled back to my room, dazed. Mom came home late that night. She yanked open my door and kicked the chair beside me. "Stop crying." I scratched that sorry fool's face up. "He talks smack about you again, I'll rip his mouth apart." I stared at her messy hair and bruised eye, horrified. "You went to fight him? What else?" She sat down, ranting. "Been so long since I fought, I'm rusty." "You're crazy." "At your age," the doctor said, "no stress," I worried aloud. "Who cares? It won't kill me. If he bullies you, I'll crawl out of my grave to beat him half to death." I fell silent, gently touching her bruise. "Does it hurt?" "It's nothing." She brushed my hand away. We sat quietly. After a while, Mom spoke. "I never regretted the divorce." She paused, then continued, "Everyone thought I was crazy to leave. Right, there was a life as a rich lady, and I left it to be broke. But he was violent. When I was pregnant with your sister, he hit me often. Whenever he was unhappy or drunk, he'd hit me. I couldn't take it. I thought having kids might change him, but personality never changes. I endured for 2 years. Once you were born, I'd had enough. I asked for a divorce. I wasn't afraid to fight. I could take him on forever, I'm not one to give up. But with kids, your sister would cry her heart out. I had to think of her. I wanted to take both you and your sister with me, but your dad had all the money and power. I had no income. They didn't grant me custody, just you, because you were still a baby. I'd never heard why she got divorced before. Honestly, I used to think it was my mom's temper that ended their marriage. Never expected it was Dad's abuse. I found out she did really well, top of her class. She went to a top high school and a great college, then studied abroad in the UK. Your dad's not great, but he got her a decent stepmom, someone humane, didn't mistreat her. I saw them once, holding hands, laughing on the street, looking like real mother and daughter. What could I do? She's known her stepmom since she was 2. 2 is too young to remember much. She got up, looked at me. Julia, are you still my daughter? If you like him, go for it. What are you scared of? Joseph, wasn't he the one in your diary? Mom. You read my diary? I jumped up, shocked. Who reads diaries? I was cleaning, found his badge, put it back. How could I not know you? All the other kids were playing while you studied, like I didn't know why. I felt exposed by my own mom. It's the same with you too, I know all about it. That kid? Listen, nobody can take what belongs to you. Think it over. She left and closed the door. I stood there, deep in thought. I like Joseph. I want to marry him. I've thought about it for a long time. But he was with me for the kid, and now that the kid's back with their mom, what do I have to stay for? I'm just as lost. There was a department dinner, and I wasn't in the mood to go. You've got breakup vibes all over you, our team leader said, shaking their head. Got dumped? Sort of. What kind of guy dumps you? I should have words with him. Didn't you say I'm nothing special? A woman in my department is worth more than any out there. Thanks, that's comforting. Don't be down, come out for drinks. I'll help you if you spot someone. She insisted. I'm not sure about this. Guy doesn't get drunk, you got no shot. Her logic was relentless. I couldn't win, and she eventually dragged me there. Joseph, you not joining? A colleague reminded him. I'll catch up, just need to touch base first. Normally Joseph never shows up to these things, but protocol's routine. Then at the barbecue place, Julia looked towards us, her face sheepish. Be on your best behavior, Joseph's here. Almost joking my eating buddy on his pork belly. Surprised, I kept my head down, not daring to look. Joseph, your seat's here, Julia gestured, wiping the top seat for him. I'll just sit here, came his deep voice above me, his polished shoes beside mine. A knot formed in my stomach. Is it okay? He softened, asking me. What can I say? I just moved the bag off the chair. Sure thing. The guy next to me made me a bit uneasy with his vibe. My coworkers started toasting him, and he didn't refuse a single one, just tilted his head back and drank. I was worried about him, but it wasn't my place to say anything, so I just focused on grilling the meat. Every time I looked up, I caught him sneaking glances at me, only to quickly look away. Someone offered him a cigarette, but he calmly refused, saying it was too stuffy to smoke in here. Once he said that, everyone else fell in line and stopped smoking too. He hardly ate a thing, just kept drinking. It was obvious he wasn't into the barbecue. I was zoned out when the server brought the steamed cheesy sweet potato, and I almost burned my fingers trying to open the foil. Watch out, it's hot. He was drinking with the others but still reached out to stop me. I looked up and saw him looking right at me. He motioned for me to sit down, opened the foil himself, and scooped some into my bowl. Is that enough? He asked softly. Yeah, it's enough, I stammered. My coworkers were stunned. The awkwardness was off the charts. But he just kept his cool, chatting and drinking with them. After a bit, he glanced at me again, asking quietly when no one was looking, "Did you burn yourself?" "No," I answered, wary of being overheard. He was getting bolder with all the drinking and eventually grabbed my hand under the table without a word, just holding on to it. I was a bit flustered and wanted to pull away, but he wouldn't let go. Joseph, I whispered his name when everyone was relaxed and joking around, squeezing his hand gently. He turned toward me, bringing his face closer, clearly a bit tipsy, staring at me. You should let go, I murmured. What if someone sees? He squeezed my hand again, refusing to release his grip. This guy, the boss, acting like a kid throwing a tantrum. I was at a loss. Trying so hard not to attract attention, staying so close that I was practically stuck to him. He noticed and couldn't help but smile. More women showed up at the next table, constantly looking over. I knew why. Joseph, with his outstanding looks, a bit tipsy, jacket off, shirt unbuttoned just enough to drive anyone wild. Who wouldn't be smitten? I glanced at him and then at the women sneakily taking photos, sighing silently. Then he leaned down and asked me, jealous? Let them look. What do I care? I kept my head down, avoiding his gaze. If you're this jealous, what will you do when I go to business dinners? He teased. Stop talking to me, I said, feeling overwhelmed by the chance of being caught. He didn't press further, just buttoned up his shirt to the top. I couldn't help but feel moved, even if I stayed silent. Then some girls grew brave and came over to ask for his contact info. Do you know who he is? The team leader was getting irritated. She hadn't expected that bringing the boss would cause so much trouble, photos, gossip, and now these requests. Of course I know, he's my crush. Hey dude, can you add me? One asked boldly, reaching for his arm. The co-workers found it funny, but Joseph stayed serious, dodging her and not giving her any chance. Sorry, I'm married, he said, staying polite but firm. Even married people can make friends, right? The girl pressed on. No, he said, uncompromising, she wouldn't like it. His grip tightened on my hand under the table. My face heated up. This moment drove me wild with excitement. How could I not be? The guy who appeared countless times in my dreams, holding my hand, shutting out all other romantic prospects without a word. When the dinner ended, he finally let my hand go. I realized my palm was sweaty from being in his grip. Joseph, should I take you home? The team leader asked, opening the car door for him. No, you all go ahead, he waved, standing by the sidewalk, lighting a cigarette. All right, she replied, turning to me, are you coming with us? I'll take you home. You're playing favorites. A coworker teased. No favoritism here. Julia just went through a breakup. How could I let her go home alone? She replied. You broke up? A coworker asked me. What could I say? I looked at Joseph. He watched me through the smoke with an unreadable expression. It's nothing major, I said, moving to the car. I'll take you, Joseph suddenly spoke, staring at me. As if it was too blatant, he added, it's on the way. You're headed the same way as Julia? Really? The leader was puzzled. Joseph stayed silent. She looked awkward but didn't push further. Everyone left in their cars, leaving just the two of us. I felt a mix of apprehension and secret joy. Only I knew there was no on the way. My neighborhood's to the east, his house is to the west, not even close. I'll take a cab myself. It's late, I said. You know it's late, he replied, putting out his cigarette, calling a taxi. I'll take you home. I couldn't argue, so I let him. The whole way I was on edge. Afraid he'd judge my life, pity me. If he ever knew my past, any small affection he had might disappear. Fear of being looked down upon is intense in love. When you're crushing on someone, you feel insignificant, but still hold on to pride. It's a contradiction. He stayed quiet, visibly tipsy. Maybe just drop me at the corner? I suggested. Let me see, he said, holding my hand, reassuring me. There's nothing to see. It's shabby. Still want to, he insisted. I had no choice but to let him. At the corner, he stood with me, peering into the alley. Did you grow up here? He frowned. What about night classes? Nothing to worry about. I've walked this road so many times I could find my way blindfolded. He looked at me, silent, then patted my head. As we walked, he suddenly stopped. Have we met before? Looking around, he said, I've been here. Back when I was a senior in high school, a little girl ran into trouble and into my arms. My heart skipped a beat. He remembered. He laughed, recalling, that crazy thing happened. Oh. Then what? Where did you go? I feigned ignorance. That little girl was so scared. I stayed outside her window all night until her mom came back. You really stayed all night? I thought you would have left halfway through. How could I leave? He laughed. She was scared and kept waking up, checking the window to see if I was still there. It's not even your business, and you stayed all night. I can't really explain it. She's kind of adorable. He said that and then suddenly laughed like he realized something. Are you jealous of a kid, a little sister? I was shocked at his line of thinking. Jealous? I shot him a look. How could I be jealous of myself? He dropped his head, looked at me seriously, and said, You look a lot like her. I paused. Could we be sisters or something? I joked. He didn't say anything, just seemed to seriously consider it. The next second, I arrived and pointed to the house. You should head back. He looked over, and when his eyes landed on that locust tree, his pupils widened. Before he could react, I went inside, leaving him outside by himself. I went to the window and watched him. He stood there for a few seconds, seeming to realize something, lit a cigarette, then slowly walked towards the locust tree. He raised his hand to touch the tree, head down, smoking. After finishing the cigarette, he looked up at me, just staring and eventually smiling. He stayed under the tree, not moving, not checking his phone, just watching me. I couldn't sleep at all. And when I tossed and turned again, peeking out the window, he slowly walked over. Can't sleep? His eyes were full of affection. With you here, how could I sleep? He smiled, then chat with me for a while. He suddenly bent down, lowering his head to get closer to me. He's so tall, the windowsill so low, the position looked a bit awkward for him. When do those locust flowers bloom? He smiled. Feeling his breath so close, I'm sure my face turned crimson. Freshman year. He looked at me leisurely. You liked me since freshman year? Caught off guard, I just stared, not speaking. Why didn't you come find me then? I did. I answered truthfully. He looked surprised. How come I didn't know? I was in the finance department at a university during undergrad. His eyebrows raised. Hearing that, he went from relaxed to suddenly serious. He stared straight at me. Sorry, I didn't know any of that. His voice was a bit dry, stretching out his hand to touch my cheek. You don't need to apologize. Liking you was my own thing. You don't have to be responsible for that. Thinking about my awkward crush days, I felt a lump in my throat and almost cried. He looked at me, not sure what he was thinking, then softly said, I'm really a jerk. He tidied my hair behind my ear, and the next second was holding my face, kissing me. The world spun, and I forgot to breathe. After a while, he let go, and my face was probably too red to face anyone. Don't like me anymore. He held my face, full of affection. Let me like you instead, okay? I nodded quietly. You don't have to be that obedient. You can be playful, just don't avoid me anymore, alright? He looked at me with eyes full of stars, then leaned down to kiss me again. Outside, the moonlight stretched his shadow long and thin. Finally, my locust tree boy had returned. That night, he didn't leave. He stood under the locust tree, watching over me. The next morning, my mom got a shock. Is that guy crazy, standing there all night? That's Joseph, I laughed. Joseph? My mom jumped up. He came to make up with you? Kind of. So handsome. Why didn't you let him inside? Oh, you. My mom went out smiling to invite him in. He followed her in, although a bit nervous since it's his first time meeting her. But from the smile reaching my mom's ears, he made a great impression. Since it was the weekend, there was no work, so I helped my mom with her mahjong parlor. Joseph tagged along. I was worried. What could he do there? I served tea and water. I couldn't have him do that too. But my mom had a solution. Joseph, do you play mahjong? A little. We're one player short. Wanna give it a try? Sure. I couldn't believe it, having a first-time guest play mahjong. I sat beside him, nervous about him not knowing how to play. Turns out my worries were unnecessary. Within a few rounds, the old-timers were hesitant to make any moves against him. How's he this good? Julia, your boyfriend, huh? Handsome, plays well. I blushed at the compliments. Then, he started losing continuously. My relatives' faces eased, and by the end, they were all smiles. Julia, your boy's a business owner, yeah? Loads of potential. Looks like a fine catch. Invite us to the wedding banquet, huh? I smiled and agreed. I tugged his shirt. I guess I overestimated his skill. He's terrible. You want me to take over? No worries, you relax. I'll keep you company later, alright? What could I say? I just couldn't bear seeing him lose like this. When each of my relatives won thousands, he cheerfully paid up. Sorry, I need to excuse myself now. Alright, you keep busy. Winning so much, we should be embarrassed, huh? I'll get better. Looking forward to learning more from you all next time. Absolutely. This young one's quite nice. He got up, tugging me along. Did you lose on purpose? I asked. He looked down at me. If they're happy, it's all good. He glanced at his watch. It's still early. Join me somewhere? Didn't you stay up all night? Not tired? I asked. Not tired. He squeezed my hand. He took me to a custom jewelry store. The staff, seeing him, greeted warmly. Joseph, here for the ring? This must be the missus. I was stunned the whole time. The attendant led us into the VIP room, took a box from the safe. Want to see if you like it? He nodded towards the box. I carefully opened it, revealing a pink diamond ring, not very big but very girly. He took it and slipped it on my finger perfectly. When did you? Ordered it a while ago, just never picked it up. He smiled. How come I didn't know? You were just busy throwing a fit at me, how would you know? He placed my ring-wearing hand in his palm, staring at it. Little heartless one, once it's on, it's not coming off, he said. But honestly, you wouldn't dare anyway. He happily held my hand. After getting the ring, his driver pulled up, and we finally headed back to his place. His grandpa beamed when he saw me, and was full of praise for him when he noticed the ring on my finger, saying he'd finally done something worthwhile. His parents were both in England. We chatted via video call. They didn't ask much about me, just said they respected their son's choice. Everything happened so suddenly, and by the end of the day, it felt like I was living in a dream. That night, I went back to his villa in Shishan with him. After showering, I came out to find him asleep on the couch. He must have been so tired today. I walked over, crouched down, and gazed at him without reservation. With his eyes closed, his features were striking, and a bit of stubble had grown on his chin. He seemed more mature and steady than when he was younger. The boy I once dreamed about was right here, asleep in front of me, holding the school badge I returned to him. I wondered, is there finally a place for me in his dreams? Thinking about it filled me with an unprecedented happiness. While he was asleep, I mustered up the courage to give him a quick kiss on the forehead. But just as I leaned down, he suddenly opened his eyes. In that fleeting gaze, I fell into the starlight in his eyes. My heart started pounding. His lips parted slightly. What was he planning to do? I had a pang of nervousness and instinctively thought of running. Yet he pulled me towards him by the waist. Not doing anything, just looking, he murmured, leaving me flustered. His eyes scanned steadily from my eyes downward, and I wondered, can any man just look in the middle of the night? Then I won't look either, I said, reaching out to push him away. But he gave me no chance to escape, instead pulling me closer. His voice went hoarse, if I don't let you look enough, what kind of normal man am I? He flipped over, leaning in to kiss me. Later, he whispered softly, Julia, don't be scared. What else could I do? You dig your own pit, you've got to fill it in yourself. The wedding is next week. He treats me well. But he's pretty restrained. At work, he's all business. At home, he shows his true self. He's got his act together at home, but at the office, he stays that icy boss. I seriously suspect he has a split personality. How else can he divide his work and personal life so clearly? And always stay so calm? At the office, my team leader was still moody, ragging on me daily for my project proposals. Julia, I'm telling you, if love's not going well, focus on your career and get those results up. Alright, I'll revise it again, okay? I replied. Spent the whole morning redoing the proposal, didn't even have time for lunch. Joseph was on a business trip again, leaving me in a pitiful state. By afternoon, after more revisions, my team leader finally cracked a smile. Not bad, take it to Joseph. Guess I did all right. Wait, isn't he out of town? He came back early. I just saw him in the elevator, my leader said. I didn't refuse. I took the proposal to find him. Hadn't seen him in a week. Truthfully, I did miss him a bit. But at work, he never flirted. Knowing his cold demeanor kind of bummed me out. I knocked on the door, walked in, and found him buried in paperwork. See, always so cold. Here's the new proposal, my team leader asked me to show it to you, I said, handing it over. Just leave it, he replied without even looking up at me. I was so frustrated. I placed the proposal down and was about to leave when he spoke again. Close the door behind you. And lock it, he said. Not sure what he was planning, but I complied. When I turned around, he was standing right behind me. He lifted my hand, then used his other hand to lock the door. You? I began, but he cut me off. Missed you, he said, then kissed me. How do I miss you so? He murmured sweetly in my ear. My ears went hot, heart racing. He finally let me go, returning to his desk, seeming pleased. You're getting pretty bold, he said. Blushing, I chided him, you're fearless. Without batting an eye, continuing his paperwork, then what did you think I came back early for? Internally, I cursed him, bastard. Wait for me after work, okay? He added. It took a while to calm down. Still, I took the proposal and left. Back at my workstation, my team leader came over. Julia. He snapped, startling me. Well, what's up? I stammered, shaken. He glared, getting angrier, saying, sent you to show Joseph the proposal, and your lipstick smudged. Oh no. My cover's blown. I panicked. You went to the break room to snack, didn't you? I said, how come showing a proposal took half an hour? I'm disappointed, why can't you be serious? If you don't want to work, just leave. Furious, he made a scene, and colleagues gathered to watch. I felt utterly hopeless. Then, lifting my eyes, I spotted a familiar figure at the door. Leaning casually against the doorframe, Joseph remarked, I ate it, any issues? Everyone's heads turned, mouths left agape at the sight of Joseph. My team leader immediately deflated. Amidst the co-workers' knowing glances and understanding expressions, Joseph plopped a stack of invitations on the table. The wedding's next week. Hope you all can come. No gifts necessary. He then took my hand, eyeing my bewildered team leader, and said, "Do you mind if she joins me for a late lunch?" Sure. My team leader stammered, panicking. Unfazed, Joseph, in gracious and gentle fashion, led me out. The wedding went off as planned. Happiness came crashing in unexpectedly. The biggest delight, Paul was our ring bearer. "Julia, I'm sharing my dad with you, okay? Can you come see me at preschool?" He asked sweetly, offering me the bouquet. "Absolutely," I replied, bending to hug him. Smiling angelically, he slipped a candy into my hand. As he turned, I noticed his tiny hand discreetly wiping tears away. When it came time to throw the bouquet, Joseph nodded towards the crowd. "Give it to your sister." With his signal, I approached. Michelle stood there, forcing a smile. "You won." I held back my words. "I'm leaving tomorrow. Found someone new." "Wish you happiness," she said, taking the bouquet and hugging me. I stayed still, rooted. She snapped a selfie with me, then turned and left. My mom stood silently behind her, quietly shedding tears. My sister seemed to sense something, turned back, walked over to my mom, gave her a hug, patted her back, and then left for good. Throughout the entire wedding banquet, I honestly wasn't tired. But just watching Joseph made me feel exhausted for him. Everyone who toasted him, he accepted them all without hesitation. "Drink a little less," I tugged on his sleeve, feeling a bit worried about him. "No worries," he said, reaching out to pat my head, which made me happy. In the evening, Paul followed us home, which surprised me even more. He hugged me and with a smile said, "I gave her 10 million to chase her own happiness. It's worth it." "What? That much?" I asked. "Well, she's your sister and Paul's mom. Compared to your happiness and the kids, it's nothing." I couldn't believe such an amount. I was a bit shocked. "Does it seem like a lot to you?" he asked. "Then how about you give me some?" He chuckled. "How would I give it back?" I replied. Before I knew it, he had scooped me up in his arms. In the moonlight, he held me close, whispered goodnight, and I watched him drift into a deep sleep, feeling sweetly content. You see, a secret crush fell into my dream, then into his, and on this night, it finally blossomed. That flower is called a black locust blossom.